Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're now going live, so we're being now linked to the main studio in London, so where I can say, yes, hello, it's Nigel Newman now reporting from Luton, where there has been a case of bird flu reported, and indeed the area is now under surveillance and exclusion, and I'd like to just take a poll of some of the views that exist in the local community. Now, I'm walking over towards a group of people I know are the local health authority, and I believe, if I could just come through here, I believe you've had a meeting this morning. Could I ask you your views, please, on the current situation?
Yes, well, this is quite by surprise, I've got to say. We have had no idea this morning.
Yes.
So obviously we've been working very, very hard to get ourselves sorted. So can I just say that we've organised a helpline for families and everybody who's concerned about they might have symptoms, so there's a helpline. Two numbers which will appear on the media today. We've initiated isolation for the family, and we've taken precautions. Precautions the media will deal with later on, and symptoms looking for symptoms.
Thank you very much.
Hopefully we can come back and we'll have more
Information as it develops. Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you to the health authorities. Now, thank you. We're going across. I noticed a group of police people here, so I understand that you've been heavily involved with the situation. Do you have a spokesperson? Oh yes, hello. Hello. If I could just come amongst you here and just say, can you tell us from the point of view of police and law enforcement, what's the situation, please?
Well, we're awaiting further advice from DEFRA, but in the meantime, please stay away from the area. As cordons are in place, if you have any concerns, please contact our helpline on 0800 800 800 or visit our website at www. And more information will follow as we receive it.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much indeed. Advice there from the local police. Thank you. Well done. Okay. Now, of course, every community has schools, and indeed this is no exception. A group of teachers from the local schools here. I believe you've been having a discussion this morning. Could I ask you your comments on the situation, please?
Yeah, obviously we're very worried about the situation for our pupils and staff, and we've kept in contact with the local health authority, and we're discussing whether we should close the school, but further information will be coming.
Thank you very much indeed. Well done. Thank you very much indeed. Okay. Thank you. Very congested here in Luton. Okay, and now I've walked across because I'm now approaching a group of the local media, and I believe that this has all been very sudden and very newsworthy. Could I ask you, please, if you'd like to say a few words about your situation, how it's happening for you?
We've been able to have interviews with all the people involved, obviously not the person who's got the bird flu, but relatives and neighbours. We've got some searching questions to ask of the government and the health authority about how they're dealing with this. We're hoping to have an exclusive interview with the patient and possibly sell that to the national newspapers in our own interests. I think I've covered everything.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Okay, we've heard now from, indeed, the health authorities, the police, the schools and the local media. I'm now over here, and I believe they've convened an emergency meeting. The local council, is that right? Yes. If I could ask if you have a spokesperson. Hello. Hello. Please. Sorry, I'm talking to the camera, you see, so I'm going to have to reflect on your... Right, okay. What would you like to say, person that can't be seen by the camera?
We would just like to reassure everybody that every measure is being taken to contain this. We are working very closely with our local health authority. We have made a decision in conjunction with the local health authority that to make sure that every safety measure is taken, we will close the school for now. We are going to send out information leaflets to all houses, prepare statements for the local media to make sure that everything is contained and nobody panics unnecessarily.
Thank you all. Well done. Thank you very much indeed. Okay. We've heard from the local council. Ladies and gentlemen, I can now say that I've also stumbled across a group of local people, I believe, local residents. Is that right? Okay. What do you think about the situation, please?
Well, we're very, very shocked at the minute and really concerned. We need drastic measures. We're really worried about the bird flu. We need some signs on houses that are infected, quarantine of the estate. We were wondering, is it a local person or is it someone that's come into the city? And what's that going to be done? What about the age of the people involved? Living around this area, it's really concerning to me. Where did this come from? We need to know. We need to know.
Thank you very much indeed. Most concerned views there. Well done. Thank you. I'm pleased to report that this must be a very important occasion because I noticed that we've got members of the national government here today, representatives from national government. Do you have a spokesperson? Yes. Do excuse my back here. I'm working in limited space. May I ask, what is the national view, please, from the government?
Well, first I'd like to thank you, Nigel, for allowing me to on your programme. But I want to reassure you and all of the listeners here that everything is under control and it is an isolated and very contained situation. And we have all of the agencies involved working their hardest to make sure that everything works as it does. We have found the source. Once again, to reassure you, it is under control and it is an isolated incident, and we even have some contingency plans set in place in case there are.
Thank you very much indeed, Minister. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. And ladies and gentlemen, it wouldn't be fair of me to leave the scene without visiting another special group of people. We have over here, I believe, the relatives of those affected. I realise it's an important and overacting time for you. Would you like to say a few words about the situation? Oh, hello.
Well, yes, absolutely. I mean, all these things have been put into place and everyone's being protected, but what about our family that's in isolation? Who's looking after them? What should we expect is going to happen to them? What risk are we at? How can we support them? What's being done for them? It's all about protecting everybody else, but we've got our family to think about.
Okay, thank you. Strong views there. Thank you. Well done. Thank you. And that's all from me. More news as it develops. Back to the studio. Well done. Give yourselves a round of applause. Okay. Just remember, I mean, I know that's not quite. I mean, that's theatre on a mass scale, but completely possible. Let me bring it down to some of the things that have happened over the years and that have been used, or we've used this particular vehicle. I was in a school that was in a population of a largely Turkish population some years ago after the earthquake occurred in Turkey. We did the same thing then. So it doesn't have to be bird flu. There was a school in a remote part of East Anglia that was affected because of a bypass issue. And we did the same thing. We had groups of people from the local area in the school, but the children played these parts, and we interviewed them about the pros and cons, the whys and wherefores, the views on the local bypass, and whether it should or shouldn't have been agreed and all these sort of things. And please understand, there is no workbook that I can give you which says these are the headings to use, but one has to use one's innate skill with children and pick headings. So when we did the Turkish earthquake, for example, we had views from the survivors. We actually had people on the phone. You know, they went out into the school secretary's office and they phoned the classroom as if they were phoning from Turkey, and we were phoning survivors, and we would hear from them. You know, hear from Dimitri in the earthquake area. We had the rescuers. We had national government. We had local government. We had Red Cross representatives. So you vary it according to whatever the topic is up there. If you go back to the bypass issue, I had no idea that feelings were so strong when I got to the school in East Anglia, and so we had to find out, well, who are the pressure groups? Who are the various antagonists and protagonists? So we identified groups of people. For example, all the shopkeepers who had a vested interest in passing trade. And yet all the road safety people and the environmentalists wanted the bypass. So we had these kind of conflicting views. So the children played different roles. And all I've done today is got you all to be one. Now, of course, if this were a wheel, I could now move it round. And you guys would now become them and they would become you. So you can get them to do OPV in a different way. But I hope that helps. Please understand, it's probably not, this is a bit of a big group really to do it with, but if you do, you can easily do it with a classroom group. And I've done this with secondary children in drama as well, so you can use it in all kinds of situations. Okay, so we've now looked at tools. We've looked at OPV again. Let's move to another tool. This is CNS, this is consequence and sequel. CNS, consequence and sequel. The idea is, and I'm going back to the school in Malta, consequence and sequel. What will happen next? We make this gesture. Or if you have very small people, you can get them to do little frog jumps. What will happen next? So you're looking at what will happen after this step. What's next? What will happen next? Of course, the difficulty is that timescales change according to the nature of the issue. For example, two completely different timescales. If we look at the consequence and sequel of Nigel being hit by a bus, then we all know that the consequences might be immediate, a few minutes, a few hours, the golden hour in first aid. We might say that the medium term is the next couple of weeks while the bus is recovering. Okay, no, me. And then thirdly, the long term. Will I walk with a limp? Will I have damaged hands or whatever it is? So the point is, it might be a timescale of a year or two. However, change the emphasis now to what would happen if we were building a nuclear power station. Short term, immediate, next 3 years, feasibility studies, environmental pressure groups, stuff. Second, medium term, the next 10 years, 15 years of its life, the impact on the environment during that time. Long-term consequences, 20 years. Someone says the life of a Magnox power station is 20 years or something, and then it's decommissioned. So what would happen in decommissioning? So that's completely different. Now, between Nigel Newman hit by a bus and building nuclear power stations, you've got everything else. So what would the consequence be, moving away from Nigel Newman hit by a bus? What would be the consequence of having Saturday morning school? What would be the consequence of global warming? What would be the consequence of banning cars from the centre of cities? So I can't tell the timescale until I hear the context. But just to give you an example, we've got to practice somewhere. So we're going to have, first of all, a little practice on a remote issue, and then we'll have a go with a real issue. Let's have a look. This is a very simple one. This is a fun one. Okay? Now, you may remember many years ago there was a lady called Barbara Woodhouse, I believe, used to teach dogs how to do something or other. The point is, if a new method was developed to teach dogs how to talk, I would like you in a group of 2 or 3 in a moment to think about what would happen in the immediate or the short term. If dogs could speak, what do you see happening tomorrow, next week? Secondly, if this method allowed dogs to talk, what would be the medium term? What would happen? What's the likely impact on pets and people? And then finally, in the long term, would it change society? What's the long term? I don't know. It could be years. All I'm asking is immediate or short term, right now. What would happen between now and the summer? Secondly, what would happen over the next year or so? And what would happen in the future? So we're just looking at the impact of this. So it's consequence and sequel. It's looking to see what would happen next. What are the consequences of this action? And then, by the way, I've got a slide because we can compare what you say with what the children have said in the past. Okay, so I'd like you to think of 3 minutes as a simple way of getting 3 timescales. Short term, medium term, long term. I won't ring the bell between each one, but I'll give you 3 minutes, please, to think about the short, medium and long term impact of teaching dogs to talk. Please proceed. Okay, so what do you reckon would happen straight away? If dogs could now be, you could find this new method, I don't know how it would work, we don't need to know that, but suddenly a new method was developed to teach dogs how to talk.
Everyone would want one.
Everyone would want one, it would be on the internet, on all the papers, everybody would want one. Okay, maybe not. Let's see, what did you say? Be very demanding. Remember, dogs would now be speaking to you, listening to you. Maybe we don't know what the word teaching dogs how to talk. We don't know whether that's just speaking or listening, or whether they can speak any particular language. But they'd be very demanding. A little bit more information, maybe.
So it'd be like having a toddler or a child. I mean, they could be like that anyway. But once they can talk, they'd never grow up.
Okay. Dog will yapping at you all the time. You think you want me to eat that? Do you see that? Okay, so the dogs would be very demanding, very yappy, or you think everybody would want one? Anything else? Something different for the short term, please?
I think their language would be very simplistic to begin with, and then they build on that.
Very simplistic language, you think? Very abrupt, maybe? Very simple words? Right, like rough? I just thought of that. Oh dear. Yeah, it's interesting. The immediate thought is, would it be our language? I mean, if you had a Pekingese dog, for example, would it only speak Chinese to you? That'd be quite concerning. So we don't know. I mean, obviously, we're speculating. This isn't true, by the way. I hope you realise that. Okay, so, no, I'm sorry. Okay, so yes, would they speak... Would they also, the other question might be in the short term, would they be able to understand us? Would they understand our vocabulary, or would it be simplistic? And they'd only understand words like sit and stay, basically like it is now, except they would answer back, no. I said sit. No, I don't want to. Okay, have a conversation with yourself. Okay, so let's go to medium term. What do you see happening later this year or next year? What do you think might happen if dogs could speak? Talk.
Rights for dogs.
Rights for dogs, you see. New political party supporting dogs' rights. Dogs' equal rights. What about vets? Vets would have... where does it hurt? Just one my back leg. Just here. How do you feel, Ruff? I'll get that one in again. Okay. Anything else in the medium term? Sort of, going on a bit into time, next month or 3. What would interesting question. What would happen to dog food? Would it change? I'm not eating, as I said, I'm not eating that. I'd like something proper food. I'm just not eating that. Where did you get it? Well, I got it in a pet shop. A pet shop? No wonder it's, do you know what's in that? So obviously there could be conversations that can happen. So maybe pet food changes. Maybe we have new gourmet restaurants for dogs. Maybe there's all kinds of things. Okay? What about the long term? In the future?
We thought they might start taking jobs from people in call centres.
Yeah. They might start taking jobs. You get a call from Rover. Start taking over from us, driving. Imagine dogs could be taught to speak. They could drive. They could start having conversations with us. We could they'd be on the phone. They could be all kinds of. Anything else?
People might decide they don't need human relationships anymore, so they find a boyfriend, they find a nice dog.
Find another dog, you see. I've left you for a dog. Don't go there. Sorry. Yes, thank you. The media. Suddenly now we've got rights, we've now got media, we've got soap operas, dogs in soaps, what the dog saw, what David Blunkett's dog reported, or whoever. You've got media, you've got dog newspaper, got dog programme specially dedicated to dogs, dog hour. Do not adjust your mind, reality is at fault, it's okay. Okay, let's have a look at what the children did. So, this is not by any means meant to be exhaustive, but here we are. They said in the short term, lots of people wouldn't believe it, sensational, stupid, headlines on it all over the world. Some people would laugh at it or make money out of it. There'd be lots of people that come up with DVDs that would train your dog how to speak languages. Here you are, DVD, £1. Medium term, probably be treated as a novelty item. Only valid by a few. Please remember, if that's not your time scale, it's their time scale, it's different, it doesn't matter. It's all about thinking it through. That's the key point. People definitely look for proof that it was genuine. Lots of people would want to get their dogs trained. Long term, new opportunity, dogs in Parliament. They said, people would develop a better understanding of dogs and they of us. Less people might want dogs as pets, become completely opposite to what you said about change your partner for a dog. Couldn't have any secrets from your neighbours. Your neighbours know all about you because your dog speaks to their dog. And a special TV station for dogs, dog vets, special dog programmes where they phone in on the Dog and Bone.